Originally, we were supposed to be meeting our guide at 8:30. Last night he texted us to say, hey, let's meet at 7 o'clock instead. So we're up a little bit earlier today.
Are you a traveler?
Thank you. The first place we've arrived at is the ticket office. We've handed our passports over to our guide and he's just picking our tickets up for us. And then we'll be crossing the border into North Korea.
This is Freedom Bridge. We've just learned that at the end of the Korean War, all of the Korean soldiers who were stuck in North Korea fighting managed to cross back here, and they were so thankful for their freedom that this was named Freedom Bridge.
This is a train that was used during the Korean War to transport weapons. As you can see, it's covered in bullet holes and all the wheels have been completely destroyed by bombs. It was left abandoned for roughly 50 years, but it's been preserved as a reminder.
We have to get on an official shuttle bus to take us to the DMZ because our vehicle isn't allowed.
Go in and you should go back in.
We've just entered the demilitarized zone, which is no man's land between the borders of North and South Korea. Nobody is allowed to go here without special permission, so we have to be super careful where we film. We've been told that if we film in the wrong spot, we will get arrested by North Korea and that there is nothing they can do to help us.
So between the early 1970s and 1990, 4 tunnels from North Korea were discovered underneath the demilitarized zone heading towards Seoul for a surprise attack on South Korea. This tunnel was actually large enough for 30,000 military troops armed to the teeth. We're not actually allowed to film inside the tunnel, so we'll meet you guys on the other side.
This is a village located actually inside the demilitarized zone, so people live here. It's because this land is really fertile for farming ginseng, which is very popular in South Korea. So that means people have permission to live here, but they can't enter North Korea or South Korea without going through military checkpoints. It's a super unique way to live.
We've arrived at the Dora Observatory, where we're going to get an aerial view of North Korea.
This is a bit I feel a bit weird about. So everything behind me is North Korea. We can see their 3rd largest city, we can see their propaganda village that they use to try and convince South Korea that they have more power than they actually do. An interesting fact about the flags. So the South Korea flag was built at 100 meters high and the North Koreans weren't having that, so they built their own flag at just over 160 meters high.
You can actually see people through the binoculars on the north side of the border. It's so weird and surreal actually seeing people living in the country that you hear so much about on the news, and seeing them there really makes the whole kind of situation that they're living in so much more real, if that makes sense. I feel like in the day of mainstream media and mainstream news, we tend to distance ourselves from other people in a way that kind of makes it not seem real. But then coming to places like this and actually seeing the people that are living the lives that you hear about on the news really does just make it very, very real. And it really does hit home what's happening here.
We really hope that this video comes across in a respectful way. We really didn't want this tour to come across as voyeuristic.
We did and ah about going on this tour, and I'm really glad that we did, because we really wanted to go on it for educational purposes, and I do feel like we've learned something today.
Yeah. I think it's important to learn about bad things that are happening in the world, especially when they're happening currently.
Please let us know in the comments what you thought of this video and whether or not you do a tour to the DMZ. By the way, if you're wondering why we're sat in what looks like a really random park, it's because our tour guide ditched us so we could go have a barbecue lunch.
Yeah, we're still right on the border with North Korea, so we can't really go anywhere. It's like an hour away from Seoul, and we can't afford the barbecue restaurant.
No.
It's very expensive.